Stephen, CIE Tours, you're one of the biggest and most prominent, and I think one of the oldest tour operators bringing valuable business into the country. What's 2024 been like for you guys?
2024, Owen, has been a good year. We were very happy with how it's gone. It's very similar to 2023 in terms of volume and revenue. And really, that's all we wanted. 2023 was a good year. We just wanted, after the recovery from COVID, and we just wanted to hold on to that. So we managed to do that. It's been a little bit up and down in terms of when people arrive here. We had a big peak in May, we had a big peak in September, and October was very strong, and a bit of a lull in between that. July was the quietest July we've had in a long time. But when you add it all up, we were very happy with it. The quality levels have been maintained, which is really important. The customers are still having a great time. So overall, really, really happy with 2024.
Right. And your business and your customers come from North America, the US predominantly. And you mentioned, feedback and satisfaction levels. And I know you guys are very good at sort of recording that. And is Irish tourism or the Irish tourism product as good as it was in the past in terms of how it meets expectations?
No, I think so. I mean, our quality system, it's, as you mentioned, we've 25,000 people a year complete our questionnaires. So it's very accurate. We get it assessed by a great company, data company. And it really shows that we haven't seen, when we come out of COVID initially, the first year of operations, there was a little bit of a dip, but there was a lot of disruption with flights being delayed, bags getting missed. There's a lot of crazy stuff happening, so you can understand that. Thankfully, it's back up to where it was pre-COVID levels. And I think the experience, people absolutely love it. I meet customers a lot when I'm out and about, and they really love it. Ireland is a beautiful place to come to, and beautiful welcome. The food is really good. They're surprised by how good the food is. So overall, and we have a lot of new attractions now coming on stream, a lot of technology in these attractions, really, really high level things. So I think I can understand why people like it so much.
Yeah, great. And then I suppose the key question, sort of crystal ball gazing, looking forward, is 2025 looking pretty positive too? Or are there any sort of worrying signs? We've just had a US election. We've got Donald Trump in for a second time. Nobody quite knows what impact that's going to have. But how are bookings on the CIE Tours books looking at this stage?
Again, they're okay. We started off at the beginning of the year, back in February. We started taking bookings. It was very positive. During the summer, we hit the doldrums a little bit. We'd have one good week, one bad week. It was about 3-4 months coming up to the election where it was very patchy, and it was a bit of a concern. But you can understand the hype over the election in the States. It was maybe very difficult for some people to focus on going on vacation for next year. So the good news is now the election is out of the way. But we saw a good increase in bookings last week, and that's continued into this week. So we'll see over the coming weeks into December, and then January is a really important month for us. But if there's you don't have the distraction of the election, number one. The economy seems to be going, continuing to go well. We can't give Trump credit for that just yet, but there's the stock markets.
He'll claim all the credit in due course.
But the stock markets have responded very, very strongly. A lot of our people have their 401k pension schemes are closely linked to stock markets. If the stock market goes up, they feel confident. So that's all very positive. We'll see, how that continues. But overall, we're happy. Again, our expectations are if we could have a similar level of business in 25 than we had in 24, I think we'd be happy with that. We've seen a lot of cost inflation over the last 3-4 years, and we understand why that's happened. And that's fed into our prices. So the prices keep on going up. If we can get the same level of business each year, in effect, that's growing. So it looks good for 25.
And your sector, the DMC or the tour operator sector, or indeed the conference organizer sector, you guys are able to kind of look even more than 12 months ahead. You're able to look into 2026 and 2027. Is cost inflation still looking problematic when you kind of look forward that length of time? And also, I suppose it's a linked question. Is hotel stock coming back? Because we did have a situation in Ireland where so many hotels were sort of decommissioned because of the refugee situation. And is that loosening up going forward?
Well, we're about to find out. We've started contracting now for 2026. So the team has started that a few months back. We're looking at protecting space in hotels, and we talk about rates. So my expectation is that the inflation that we've seen over the last number of years is going to level out. It really has to. We can't continue the way we were, and it's too soon for us to tell with hotel stock and the government contracts for refugees. Apparently, some of those are going to discontinue. So it's too early for us to tell. A lot of the hotels we will be dealing with may not have had contracts, but hotels in their area would have. So
yes,
it will definitely ease things up if more beds come online for leisure and tourism. It will take the pressure off. But we'll find out in another 6 months. I'll have a better answer to that question, I suppose.
Yeah, no, it's going to be an interesting one to see. And as you say, the cost inflation that Irish tourism has struggled with, it can't continue, because at some stage we'll become too expensive for the punter.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen roughly 10% increases in our selling prices last year, this year, and next year.
Yeah.
So that can't continue. Now, I absolutely acknowledge and understand why we've seen all these price increases. We've had minimum wage, we've had the VAT going back up, we've had food costs, we've had energy costs, all those things. So we recognise that people are under pressure and have to pass that on. But we have to reach the ceiling at some point where it levels out and you get into a more steady sort of regular cycle of inflation.
Absolutely. Just moving the conversation slightly towards the sort of sustainability space, because we all know how important, obviously, sustainability initiatives are, climate change, all that sort of stuff. Irish tourism takes it very seriously. And there are a number of businesses, I think, within the tourism industry family who are playing a leadership role, and CIE Tours are one of them. Tell us a little bit about some of the sustainability initiatives that you're undertaking.
Yeah, so we got ourselves organised, I suppose, just when we come out of COVID. We developed a responsible tourism plan, and then following on from that, we developed a decarbonisation strategy. Really, we've been doing some sustainability actions for many years before we even knew sustainability. Like all tour operators, we're taking business to rural areas in the Wide Atlantic Way, to the Highlands in Scotland. We're supporting businesses there to make sure that those communities are sustainable. So we've been doing that element for a long time. But we sort of formalised our plan. We developed a decarbonisation strategy. We worked with a great company, Terra Verde, who are UK-based, to really give us a roadmap. And because it's very hard to know where you start with this. It's such a monster, really is big. It's difficult to know. So you need a bit of guidance to set out a roadmap of how you're going to put in some actions in place. So we started off, we measured our carbon footprint of the entire business based on 2022, which was a small year because the volumes were smaller. But that showed us that when you added the impact of our entire business, so all our customers flying over from the US, taking their trips around Ireland or the UK or the other destinations we go to, and also the offices that we have here in Dublin and in the US, that added up to 60,000 tonnes of carbon. So very, very significant. That was broken down by 82% of that is airline traffic. So it's
okay. So you did scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3s, and the big bulk of the emissions is how people get here.
Yeah, that's the elephant in the room, if you like, and that's the huge thing, and that's the thing that you maybe have least influence over. But so there's 82% is the air, 16% is the land-based, the hotels, the attractions, the coach companies, and then only 2% is our own corporate emissions from the offices that we have. So we really are reliant on our supply chain. 98% of the impact that our business is having, it's down to our supply chain. So what we did is we developed an action plan. We started off, we got in a dedicated person who's dedicated on sustainability. So Ken Lyons started with us last April. Great guy, known in the industry, has the industry experience, now has the sustainability experience. And we've developed an action plan, starting with signing up to the Glasgow Declaration is a formal declaration that we've made, that we're going to aim for 50% reduction in the land-based carbon by 2030, 50% for our corporate offices by 2030, and 25% for the air impact by 2030. So it's not really realistic to go any more than 25% because that's such a difficult challenge. So we've an action plan then of how that's going to be achieved. And really that action plan, it involves a lot of engagement with our suppliers. We set up a pilot scheme with our suppliers that Ken is engaged with 7 or 8 or 9 suppliers. And these are people who we know are very active in that space. And what we want to do, we've had a couple of clinics with them to understand what is it they're doing, what are the initiatives that they're doing. They are sharing great ideas with each other and learning things. So that's part of our plan as we move forward. We're going to have more and more of our suppliers. We're going to engage with more and more suppliers. We're going to share ideas of what's working well with hotels, for example, or coach companies. And hopefully we'll see a lot of new initiatives be put in place over the years.
Yeah, and one of those initiatives I know is your kind of partnership with Cronin's Coaches.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And that the hydro-treated vegetable oil as opposed to diesel they use in some of their vehicles. So that's a real example, isn't it, of decarbonising an element of your package?
Yeah, so the difficulty with the coaches, they're in a different location every night, so they don't go back to the same garage. So electricity doesn't work because you don't have the infrastructure, I suppose. Same with hydrogen. Possibly hydrogen will be the long-term solution. But for the moment, we did a trial this year with Cronin's. There was one tour series, the Irish Gold series, that they've guaranteed us that it's running on H3O for the duration. So it costs a little bit more. So that was a trial, and it's really around the availability.
Yeah.
Can we is the availability, along that itinerary that we can make sure that we have H3O in that coach. It's becoming more and more. You see it on more forecourts now, and it's a chicken and egg. As the demand goes up, the supply will go up, and so on.
And you mentioned the cost of that coach, the HVO on that coach is more expensive. So the end price to the consumer is more expensive. Is there any resistance to that, or?
Well, it's about 10% more expensive. So I think that trial, for example, is going to cost us about 15,000, and that's just part of our sustainability costs.
Okay.
We're not passing that on yet.
CIE Tours will absorb that cost.
Yeah. So we'll figure out what we're going to do. Hopefully, over the next few years.
Yeah.
If it's used more, the price will come down, and there won't be any impact on the end user.
Yeah, and you mentioned Terra Verde, I think you called them, who helped you with the carbon calculation. So, is the plan that you retain a relationship with them so that in 12 months' time or 24 months' time they're able to come back and say, right, your calculation is now X?
Exactly. So yeah, we're going to have an ongoing relationship with them. Patrick Richards is the guy that owns it. He's got a huge amount of experience in tour operations, and now he's moved over to sustainability. So really good for advice and support. And each year we are going to measure our carbon again. And hopefully we're going to see the carbon per person come down. There's a lot of assumptions that we had to make when we did it for 2022 because we didn't have live information. So as we switch out those assumptions with more live information from our supply chain, we get more accurate information, and hopefully that more accurate information will include all the great initiatives that people are putting in place. Yeah. So that's and we actually with the CSRD reporting that's coming down the line, we have to report anyway. We have to be doing those calculations, and a lot of big companies are going to have to do that next year and into 2026. So this is just going to become the norm. But we're going to use Terra Verde to help us have consistency in the methodology that they're using to make sure that we're measuring the difference.
Great. And are you do you get a certification after this? And does that help you win business? If you're able to sort of promote yourself stateside as being, a green tour operator or a sustainable tour operator, does that help you win business, or is there just a bigger thing at play here, which is about climate change and decarbonisation?
Yeah, not yet. I mean, it isn't really coming into people's decision really on who to go with at the moment, but it's the right thing to do. We sort of need to do it. There are big issues out there. We just need to make sure that our business is sustainable into the future, that people can continue to come to Ireland, they can have the great experience, and they don't feel guilty about it. So look, it's maybe in 5 years' time it would be a bigger consideration when people are booking their vacation who to go with. In terms of accreditation, we're actually going through a process at the moment with Sustainable Tourism Network, STN, and that's a company owned by Rob Rankin, who set it up a number of years ago. Rob from Vagabond. As you know, Rob has been leading the charge really when it comes to sustainability. He's won a few awards, I think, from ITIC pre-COVID, and really is a leading the charge, as I said. So we're going through a very, very thorough accreditation process alongside with many other ITUA member companies. really, really thorough. We're semi-way through. I think we're halfway through that process. We have the accreditation confirmed around the beginning of next year. But again, that's more of a local sort of Irish accreditation. I think what's lacking there at the moment is a globally recognised accreditation. There's a zillion different accreditations out there, and it's very hard to know which one is good and which one is not as good. So anyway, we'll pick that up as we go along, and I'm sure, you know, in the next few years, as momentum builds, there will be a more formal recognition accreditation.
Yeah, and it's really laudable, all your sustainability work, and you know, we don't have enough time to talk about it, but I know you're partners with the All Ireland Pollinator Plan. I think you have a sustainability action fund, which is all to do with kind of, you know, farming sustainable practices and youth clubs and so on. So it's a really good example of leadership, I think, within the tourism industry. So well done to you and the team.
Yeah, but like I mentioned, we only have direct control of 2% of the damage the business might be doing to the environment. So, and we're relying on our supply chain. So what we decided to do was to set aside a budget every year for this action fund, this sustainability action fund, so we can put things back into the communities where we're operating. So we're looking for projects that we can align ourselves with. So look, it's a small step in the right direction, and it's just putting something back in, and we're on the lookout for more projects that we can do in Ireland, but also the other destinations too.
Yeah, well, they might be small steps, but collectively, you know, they all add up, and it's obviously, you know, such an important existential issue. So listen, Stephen, well done to you and the team. You mentioned Ken Lyons, who I know is working with you now. So well done to all of you for your leadership in this space, and best of luck with the regular business, if you like, next year and the years beyond.
Great, Ron. Thank you, and thank you so much for ITIC and all the support that ITIC provides, and definitely with all the challenges that ITIC, the tourism industry has, and ITIC does a great job in pushing those as hard as you can. So thank you, Ron.
Thanks so much, Stephen.